Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I am Bobby Cool Sick Breeze.
Cool Daddy Sick Breeze. That is accurate today.
And Robert's sporting the new team stuff McCall.
Yeah, man. People call me sporting the new team stuff pretty often.
So as you can probably hear from my voice, I still have a cold. It was going away and got worse once we put in some long hours in Arizona for the Memorial Championships. We had a great time. Robert met us out there, and we took a bunch of new outfits, or new tops and hats and stuff to some of the players.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about that. But yes, we are back from Arizona. Eric is not with us. Again, we have another issue with the mixer. I didn't order one yet because I was trying to save a little bit of money. And I thought we could
just make it work for the time being.
Right, but it didn't work at all. And so Eric again said he has a lot of course design work to do, which is good. So Eric is not off the show. He's just not with us this particular time. But as soon as the show's over, I'm going to order a mixer and we'll have it in for next week. So we'll have all three of us back again.
Yeah.
But the thought was me and Robert got back from Memorial. We could do some Memorial talk. So let's real quick, before we jump into the questions, let's talk about our trip to the Memorial. What were your thoughts?
Well, the Memorial is always one of my favorite tournaments because it's cold here and it's not cold there. It was like mid 40s to 50 in the morning. And then it got into like mid 70s in the afternoon. So just beautiful weather out there. Made us a little sad to come back here, to be honest. But yeah, that was beautiful. The courses are great. I do think that professional disc golf has probably largely outgrown those courses. I think they can so easily be overpowered by, guys like Simon and Eagle who can just throw super duper far. It really rewards somebody who can throw a hyzer into every hole. But that having been said, there's not a whole lot course design wise they can do to like switch that up. And so, congrats especially to Eagle for taking that down. He played incredible. I want to say I was watching Smashbox last night and he's averaged like 1070 something over his last 5 rounds. And one of those rounds was a 1035. So before that, he was averaging like mid 1080s. That's pretty good. If you're just getting into to ratings,
I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then, also we had some good finishes from Team DD, some really hot rounds. I think AJ shot a 12 under his final round to move up quite a bit. And Clemens had a good last round as well. Also on the Latitude 64 side, Johnny McRae, after the first round, was in 64th place and climbed all the way back to 6th, which is just crazy. He played really incredible golf. So good stuff from him and from all the DD Latitude 64 and West Side players. And then on the women's side, Evelina Salonen took home her first national tour victory. And I believe they said that's the first national tour victory or kind of more major tournament victory by someone from Finland, which was really cool. Evelina is super nice and very, very talented, and she handled her nerves and emotions like a champ. She just looked like just a robot, just throwing really, really clean shots, making putts that she needed to, not really making mistakes. That's pretty incredible. So big shout out to her. Also congrats to Paige Pierce. Had a tough finish to her third round that put her one stroke behind Evelina, and she did her best to chase her down, but Evelina was just on one. She played incredible. So congratulations to those two. And we're excited to move on to Waco after that. Sorry. It's not a national tour. That was a Disc Golf Pro Tour. My bad.
So it is kind of, it isn't kind of, we've had a couple, I think a couple A tiers, but we've had, of course, the Las Vegas Challenge, one of the big beginner, newer beginner tournaments of the year.
Beginner tournaments?
No, I'm sorry.
Opening tournaments of the year.
Yeah, okay. Opening of the new disc golf season. That's a better way to put it. So yeah, we've got those. And last year, a lot of the talks are some of these courses getting too easy for some of these guys? And that was kind of the mutter or the what people were saying every now and then. When you stop and see people and you ask how things are going, that was one of the sentiments I heard was these courses are a little too easy. Even Dixon Jowers on the Box Man made a little kind of a funny comment about this is not just your normal hyzer course,
right? You need to throw a variety of
hyzers, righty tighty hyzer, lefty
mid range hyzer,
so
a bunch of stuff like that was really fun.
And So, what do we do about that? Is there anything that can be done about that? Or is that just how it's going to be? You're going to go from course to course and some people will dominate and some people won't dominate?
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of the beast. I know that at Vista, they chose to elevate quite a few of the baskets to maybe create some more challenge. I wouldn't say I was a huge fan of that decision across the board. I personally am good with a few elevated baskets. That's not bad, but it was almost half, if not half of the baskets at Vista were elevated. So I like the idea of what they're doing. They're trying to make the course a little bit more difficult. I wish that we could come up with a different way to do that. But like you said, I don't have a solution for that other than just redesigning the course entirely. So, it's just going to be different week to week. There's always going to be players who are at an advantage because of the type of course that it is. A lot of the forehand dominant players do well in the woods because they have a better time keeping their disc straight and being able to look at their target. So stuff like that. Yeah, it's just, you just kind of have to take it for what it's worth, play to your strengths on that course, and then move on to the next.
All right. Well, there's a couple of other topics that we'll touch base with the Memorial, but we'll get through a few questions first. Namely, of course, because I'm a media guy, I want to talk about the media aspect of what went down at the Memorial Championships. But we'll get into that here in a little bit. Let's get into a few questions. Remember, guys, as always, go to discgolfanswerman.com. You can submit your disc golf questions, and we will try to get them on the air as soon as possible. First one comes from Charlie from Texas.
Charlie.
I cannot say the name Charlie without thinking of that video.
Right.
Charlie.
Oh,
bit
Charlie.
my finger. I want to support my favorite tour players. When I buy a double stamped Judge, does Paige get an additional spiff, or is that just part of her sponsorship package?
So for signature discs, pretty much anything that has a player's signature on it means that they will get some sort of benefit from that, whether it's a little bit per disc, whether it's quite a bit per disc. That does support those players. So anytime you buy one of those double stamp Paige Judges, you are directly supporting Paige and allowing her to stay out on tour.
Yeah, and speaking of that, for the YouTube people, you can see on our table, we have some Lucid X and Opto X discs. I just grabbed a few pretty ones that you can kind of see, but just for the audio listeners, here pretty soon, I believe, within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, I believe.
Yep, we'll start releasing these.
We'll start releasing these. Of course, we have the Lucid X Getaway, the Lucid X Trespass, the Lucid X
Felon,
the Lucid X Maverick,
Convict,
Opto X Compass, Opto X Fuse,
Opto X Explorer, and then making its return, the Waffle Warden.
The Waffle Warden.
AJ Risley. And they look really good, too. I think they knocked it out of the park with the Tour Series discs this year. They're beautiful.
And they're very colorful, very
These
pretty.
ice clear ones, come on, man. If you're an audio listener, just imagine that I'm holding up something that you really can't see because it's that clear. That's what these
So you're not
discs,
missing anything.
Yeah, it's basically just me holding my hand up in the air.
Right.
That's what these discs are like. They look just very nice.
So make sure you're tuned into dynamicdisc.com and our newsletter so you know when those become available. Next question is from Alec. I've been playing for a year. I started putting with the Shield from Westside and switched to a Harp a couple of months into being a serious player. I can hit 9 out of 10 for 15 to 25 feet with the Harp. I recently switched to the Team Deputy, and adopted more of a spin putt. I'm now throwing way over the basket. Can you recommend something in between the Harp and the Deputy with dynamic? Please, God, help me.
God is not here to help you in that situation. Bobby and I can make some suggestions for you. So
we shall be good stewards.
Yes, that's correct. Something between a Harp and a Deputy, you're basically going with almost the most overstable putter to almost the most understable putter that are offered within our lineup. So there are a lot of options in between. My personal favorite one of those is the Warden. I am Team Warden for life. But the Warden is a great option. The Judge is similar stability, but has a little bit of more of the dive kind of at the end of the flight. Marshall is kind of in the same family as the Judge as far as stability goes. So strictly within dynamic discs, we have 3 putters that are in between those: Warden, Judge, Marshall. I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them, to tell you the truth.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Next one is from, I was going to say what the subject was. Next one's from distance. No.
Oh,
Next one is from
distance.
Evan from Delaware. Hey, Disc Golf Answer Man fam. Love the show and appreciate all you do. I'm a casual golfer, fairly new to the game. My
Sweet.
question is for Bob.
Oh, Bobby Cool Daddy's Sick Breeze.
Sick Breeze, yeah. I really enjoy the Is This Disc Right For You videos and seeing the different level of players throw the same disc. As a fellow AM player who doesn't get the huge distance, I was curious what an absolute crush is for you and with your furthest flying disc. You may have touched on this before and I just missed it, just not sure, but thanks either way. Evan, right now, an experimental disc, only because I've thrown it a couple times for distance, is going to be the Air Sheriff.
Sheriff.
We just got those in a few weeks ago, and I threw it a few times, and it got some really good air. But because good distance, Air Sheriff. The thing is that it's really cold out here, and so I haven't had a chance to really go out and throw it much more. But before that, I'd have to say what I would go for in my distance would be my Trespass. And it'd have to be the most understable Trespass I have, which is a pretty good beat-in Biofusion Trespass that I think I've had since the beginning of Trespasses.
Since the inception of Trespass.
Yes. And I've lost it a couple times and it's come back to me. So it's like one of those things. If you lose something, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, you can throw it. I don't know the rest. Anyway. So Biofusion Trespass would be the distance thing. I go for distance right now, but I really want to try that Air Sheriff. I try it more. Next one is from Taylor from South Dakota. Hey, Answer Man crew. This year I'll be graduating from college and I'm already looking forward to our spring break we have in early March. I have never really done anything for spring break before, so I figured this is my chance. I'd like to visit Emporia to play the courses, see the store, and roam the town. Besides playing disc golf and buying new discs, what other things in town would make for a great experience? Also, how's the weather there in March? Well, it is March 6th, and I would say stay away.
That's correct.
It's currently, I'm going to watch, says 37 degrees. That's a few degrees above freezing, but it's still very cold out. And right now we have snow. But I'd say within the next couple of weeks, it should start turning for the warm.
It's supposed to warm up today and tomorrow. It should be like 50 this weekend, which would be nice.
So what do you think he should do when he comes to Emporia?
I mean, you hit on the big things. You definitely have to play our courses out here. Jones East and West are must plays. Peter Pan is a must play. If you can get on a country club, I really like country club. It's super cool. Olpey is really fun, but if there's still moisture, it can get really muddy really quickly, and you're going to want to bring some backup discs because there's lots of water out there. Outside of playing disc golf, visiting the retail store is awesome. The first time I walked in there, I was just like, whoa, this is awesome. So you need to check that out. Also, if you can get a tour of the distribution center, it's even more awesome. The first time I walked in here, I was taken aback by how many discs we have. And I don't know how many are out there, but I mean, a few 100,000 for sure. It's a lot. So that's super cool to check out. Other than disc golf stuff, you need to eat at Radius. Radius is probably our favorite place to eat, and it's a big supporter of the Glassblown Open. You can also check out Bobby D's. That's a hometown favorite for everybody here. Amanda's is probably the best sandwich place here in town, and it's not really well marked, but it's on Commercial Street. If you haven't gone there before, their sandwiches are just incredible, and their cinnamon rolls, that's the best cinnamon roll I've ever had.
They good.
Bar none. And then last but not least, as far as food goes, for breakfast, you got to check out Commercial Street Diner. It's just a good go-to for breakfast food here. And other than that, I mean, there's usually stuff happening at the Granada Theater. But most of what we do, we play disc golf, we eat good food, and then we just hang out.
Hopefully you participated in our skipace.com fantasy disc golf. We were working with Johnny V to make sure we have a disc golf Answerman league. I did horrific.
Yeah.
Did you sign up? Did you put your picks in?
Uh-uh.
Robert did worse than me, so I'm okay. I got 404 points. That's it. I'm ranked 369th.
It's not great, man.
No, it's not great. I really need to figure out my picks. How do I get negative 200 points?
There's a certain cutoff when like, so, all right, you could burn a pick on some really low rated player and just get 0 points. So if you picked like the person who finished in 180th and you got 0 points, but you also got 0 points for someone who didn't cash, like who just barely missed the cash, then strategically you could use all of your all your points earlier. So this punishes you for trying to like burn a pick on somebody who is low rated. You did not do that. You picked someone who had a pretty bad week.
Yeah,
to his standards.
Wow. I'm gonna burn Johnny V for giving me negative points.
What the heck, Johnny V?
So Patrick looked like Patrick Larson got the most points at
1163.
1163. He picked Eagle, Simon, AJ, and Adam.
Yeah.
So Eagle and Simon obviously placing first and second got him the most points. And then for women, he picked Evelyn.
Yep.
And Rebecca.
It's a good pick. Evelyn has played well out there before. So.
Rebecca ended up in fourth. No.
I think she ended up in fourth place. Yeah.
Fourth, I think. So
fourth or fifth, somewhere there.
Those are good picks. So Patrick Larson, if you're listening, now that's one of the things. To be able to win things, you got to do the skip ace and you have to listen to the show. So in order to know that you won, either you're going to have really good friends that listen and know that you won, or you're going to have to be listening. So Patrick, I want you to take a screenshot of you being logged into your account in Skip Ace to prove you are you. Send it to Bobby, BLBBY at dynamicdisc.com, and I will send out one of our little video production discs. That just means we threw it a few times for a video, but now we can't put it back on the shelf, but we can give it out to you, and we'll send out to you guys. Thanks so much.
The code to get into the DGAM league is just DGAM, correct? Lowercase, uppercase?
I don't believe it matters. So
shouldn't be case sensitive.
Yeah, go to skipace.com and then leagues, join league, and select DJM. Code is DJM. Get in there because we're going to be giving stuff away to winners. And you never know. I may flip the switch. I may switch the flip. I may do whatever I want to do.
Nice.
Because I can.
Yeah. True.
And I may pick number 15, whoever got 15th place, or whoever has 369th place, and then I'll be the winner.
Sick, man. We're giving away an Air Sheriff that week, huh?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
We got this sweet Air Sheriff to give away. Let's give it to myself.
Yeah. So anyway, good job. All right. So we are also part of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Fantasy Disc Golf, but we'll talk about that here in a second after we get through a few more questions. This one is from Jake. I'm 17 and played my first and only PDJ sanctioned tournament in 2018 and am now rated 913.
Cool.
I can almost throw 5 bills.
500 feet. Like $100 bills, 5 bills, 500 feet. People say that.
Don't say that, Jack. And practice every day that I can here in the cold Minnesota. I played quite well last year and want to move up a few divisions. Are there any rules stopping me from playing open while rated 913? I'd love to hear suggestions or comments from the boys.
Boys. That's spelled on here. It's spelled BOIS. So
that's why I said boys.
Yeah, that's right.
If you would have put an E, I would have said boysy.
Cool. All right. Okay, Jake. Here's my keep it real light. There is nothing keeping you from playing open whatsoever. Anyone can sign up for the open division at any tournament that they are qualified to play. Anyone can sign up for it, assuming that it's not an invitational, right? I would say if you want to improve your game, signing up for open will be good, but sometimes there can be such a gap between what some of the open guys are able to do and what you're able to do that it can kind of be discouraging. And so you might look into trying an advanced tournament first and see how that goes, because right now you would fit into the intermediate division. You might try an advanced tournament first and just see how that goes. If you want to hop into open straight in, that's great. But just know that there's going to be some people who are doing some things that are just like super consistent, and it's not going to seem like they're making a lot of mistakes. And there's not going to be much you can really do about that, no matter how far you can throw. So just, keep that in mind when you're signing up for those. I always encourage people to play up whenever possible, because I do think it helps you to get better. But I think there's kind of a limit to that where, if you were to say to somebody like Bobby, who plays in rec most of the time, hey, Bobby, you'll get better if you play open. That may be true, but there's going to be such a skill gap that it could really be discouraging. So that's what I got for you, Jake.
Oh wait, I was gonna make us a new little sign here.
Oh, that you could put in there.
Yeah,
I like it. Okay. Whenever you have it ready, I can click the light on again.
All right, hold on.
Are you ready? Here it is.
Oh, wait. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do next time. We're gonna do this.
Click the light on.
Click. We're keeping it real. Oh, that looks terrible. I'll make a graphic.
Yeah,
I'll have
we'll
to make us a little keep it real graphic.
Hey, somebody though, I don't remember who it was right now, but somebody sent me a wall sign, like a light up wall sign that said "Keep it real," and I'm very tempted to just buy it with my own money for the show.
You showed me,
and just put it back here. Anyway,
all right,
but keep it up, Jake. Also, throwing far is not the only thing that makes you good at disc golf. It's cool that you can throw that far. Make sure that you're good at the short game approaches, putting, and everything before you start to think you can challenge for wins.
Next one comes from Jordan. So I think I might be doing something wrong here. I've been playing disc golf for about a month as of Sunday. Oh, wow. As of Sunday.
Oh, cool.
Around the January 22nd time period. So
okay.
Now he's in at about
3 months.
It seems every time I pull out my driver speed 910, I crank out a nice spike hyzer.
Yeah.
But yet when I pull out my speed 12 to 13 speed driver, I can get them to take their prospective flight path with a nice soft landing. So am I just overpowering the slower drivers, needing to slow my arm speed, or is this just all in my mind? Thank you, Disc Golf Fans, man. Love the show. Has helped out a lot so far.
Good question, Jordan. I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're saying. It says, every time I pull out my 9 to 10 speed driver, I crank out a nice spike hyzer. But when I pull out 12 to 13 speed drivers, I can get them to take their full flight with a nice soft landing. I guess it depends on what driver you're using. You know, if you're throwing something like a felon or a criminal, a lot of those are going to be more overstable than some of your high speed drivers like the trespass and the sheriff and things like that. You may also have, for whatever reason, on those discs with the rim, the way that they fit, I would think there's a possibility that you could be throwing it a little bit nose up, which is going to make those act more overstable than normal. Yeah, I think there might be some mental block to that, but make sure that you're using 9 and 10 speed drivers that are intended to fly on the lines you're trying to throw. Like, it's good to have a felon, it's good to have a criminal in your bag so that you can throw those spike hyzer shots. But if you're trying to throw straight and you don't want to throw a distance driver, you need something more like convict, a getaway, an escape, an explorer, or something like that.
Next one comes from Drew. Hey, Disc Golf Answer Man crew, from Drew. I played drums in high school and because of the drumming grip, I find I am more comfortable with a 3-finger power grip of middle ring pinky instead of pointer middle ring like most people.
You crazy.
I'm trying to diagnose a nose-up release issue, and I think being able to look at the form of some pros who have similar grip might be able to give me a basis to work off of. Do you know if there are any pros that have a drumming background or have a grip that is very pointer indifferent? I don't know that.
The only person I've seen continue to throw like you're talking about,
how is he to show it?
He's talking about, so most people who throw with a 3-finger grip drop their pinky off and just use these 3. That's what I do most of the time on my power grips.
Right.
He's talking about this.
Oh,
having his index finger off. Having his index finger off.
Boy, I feel like the thing would be wobbly.
Right. Well, the only person I've seen who does that really well is Jonathan Ray. He is one of our RV drivers, and Masters Age player right now who can absolutely bomb a disc. I think he won the Vegas
distance championship,
distance contest. In qualifying, he threw several shots over 600 feet, and I played with him in person, and he was out driving me. I mean, every time. So you might want to reach out to him, Jonathan Ray. Reach out to him on Facebook and see kind of what he talks about with that. For the most part, this sort of thing, having your index finger not curled underneath, is pretty ill-advised. But if it's something that's comfortable to you that you can make work without the disc coming out nose up, grips are different from person to person. You know, it's always going to be different.
So your pinky finger is not on the disc?
On power grips. So that's on most fairway drivers and all distance drivers. The reason is here, let me see that one.
Yeah.
when I was holding on to power grips like this with all 4 fingers underneath, I started noticing that when I was getting ready to throw, my pinky would just slip off. I don't know why, but it would just start to slip off. So eventually I was like, well, I don't really need to keep it on there if it's just going to slip off. So I'll just start with it off. That'll help me to learn that nose angle a little bit more. And that's actually helped me to get the nose down a little bit more on my distance drivers. So, yeah.
That just feels so weird.
It did to me too.
To do that.
It did to me too.
All right. Next question comes from Cole. Hey, Disc Golf Fans, my crew. I'm thinking about getting a bunch of pro signature discs and trying to find them or trying to get them signed at a tournament. My question is, what is the best way to go about this? Should I be there a few days early to catch them in practice, or is there an opportunity to meet them during the event? Thanks, guys. Take care, and keep it real.
You said this was Cole, correct?
Yes.
All right, Cole. Very good on you. Cool to support the touring players. I know that means the world to them whenever fans want to buy their discs and support them in that way. That's really awesome. So let's say I'm going to use the example of Zach Melton because his Maverick is here on top, and this one is just like, come on, dude.
Money.
It's so beautiful. I want it.
It's like a seafoam grill.
Yeah, but then with like some blue on the edge too. It's really, nice. Really cool. I'm basically going to steal it for myself. Anyway, if you buy one of these Lucid X Mavericks and you're like, all right, I want to get Zach Melton to sign this, the best places to find him are during a practice day, if you know where he's going to be, or if you post that he's going to be somewhere. Go catch him during a practice round, and he would be happy to sign that for you during that time. Otherwise, probably the best time to catch them is after one of their rounds. Before is okay as long as it's not like half an hour before or an hour before. Most of the time, those guys are already into their like full warm ups. They're trying to get their mind right for the disc golf round. And then during the round, you definitely don't want to do it. Even if there's a backup, you want to just let those guys focus in on what they're trying to do. So after the round is awesome. If you see them at a players party, that's awesome. If you see them at GBO, a lot of them are just going to be walking around, hanging out in the retail store, things like that. That's a great time to do it as well. So yeah, buy those up, and then then just try and find them after the round is over, or just out and about. That's the way to do it.
Excellent. All right, so let's talk about the big elephant in the room. What went down with, yes, we're going to keep it real. What went down at the Memorial Championships as far as the media coverage?
Mm-hmm.
What were our thoughts on it? So, I obviously support Jomez and Central Coast Disc Golf. They've done Glassbone Open coverage for the last few years. We hired Jomez to do Glassbone Open this year. He has a bigger outfit this year, and so he's going to be covering the MPO 1, MPO...
That means more cameramen. He hasn't gained weight.
No. Yeah.
Just so we're on the same page.
Yeah. He's covering MPO 1, MPO 2, and FPO 1. And so it's going to be a Jomez production. It's going to look streamlined. Everything's going to look, as far as graphics and stuff like that, using all that new graphics. It's going to look good.
It'll look good.
So I say all this to say, my opinion at the beginning was, I don't fault the Disc Golf Pro Tour for the idea of bringing in the media in-house. The idea makes sense. I really am tired of people saying that Steve Dodge is just doing this for a money grab, because disc golf is not at a place where people are doing things for money grab as far as media.
And if they are, they're barking up the wrong tree.
Correct. So it's not a money grab. I believe he's just trying to make sure that the tour is sustainable so that it can be around in the next 10 years when disc golf gets even bigger. You're going to see Disc Golf Pro Tour be even at a different whole nother level. So I don't know the exact negotiations that were going on, but just from talks and things like that, it wasn't as if Disc Golf Pro Tour just kicked him to the curb. My understanding was there were some negotiations going on, and the two parties just could not come to an agreement that they both were happy with, so they had to part ways.
Right. It sounded like it ultimately came down to whose channel on which the coverage would exist.
Right.
Jomez wanted to have it on their channel with their 100,000 subscribers and everything like that, and then reap obviously the benefits of the viewership there. And then Disc Golf Pro Tour wanted to have it on their channel so that they could build that and have it all be centralized in one place.
Right.
That's what I understood.
So I get the vision that Steve Dodge has for the Disc Golf Pro Tour, bringing it in-house, the reason behind it. And I don't think he's not so naive to I don't think, no, this is my opinion. I talk to the man every now and then, but not like a lot.
Sure.
I believe that he just has this vision that it will all be under the umbrella of Disc Golf Pro Tour, because that way he can, I don't want to use the word control because people think he's just controlling it, but he will have control over the media rights for the event.
Right.
And so a lot of people are saying you're stupid because Joe Miz has 100,000 subscribers, whereas the Disc Golf Pro Tour only has 30-something thousand subscribers. So yeah, at the beginning, but the whole point is to build that up and work that up and to build it where he has a lot of subscribers. I am really getting sick and tired of people bashing Steve Dodge for what happened. Now, the coverage on the first day, obviously I was there. I tried to watch on my phone. It was bad. It was bad.
Quite.
But I've been around disc golf media long enough to remember Disc Golf
You know
Planet.
Disc Golf, yeah, exactly.
Disc Golf Planet was terrible. And then they got a little better. Then they got a little better. Then they got a little better. And then whatever happened, it got disbanded. I remember when Smashbox, Terry Miller, went on his own and started doing his own live coverage. It was not so good. It was buffering. It was stalling. It was bad. It was bad. Then it got a little better. Then it got a little better. Then it got better and better. And now you have Disc Golf Pro Tours going out on their own. So I think we need to give them a little bit of a break.
Right.
A little bit of a break to make sure they can get in there and do it. I, for one, know. And then, of course, the guys covering disc golf, I know from experience that disc golf is not the easiest sport to cover. You think you can follow a disc, you think you got that down, but you know, we just have camcorders, fancy camcorders that aren't super professional cameras and stuff like that can follow the trajectory like they do in ball golf. That's amazing how they do that in ball golf.
That blows my mind every time.
But in disc golf, there's a finesse to it. And then there's a finesse to learning. Ask me and Terry Miller were even talking about it. There's a learning curve to learning that Paul Ulibarri is like, he gets up and he throws.
Yep.
Philo, you've got to wait a while. Nico, you've got to wait a while.
Right.
I don't know how many times I was filming those guys in the past, and like I thought they were going to putt, and I'd have to pan right back.
Chris Dickerson.
Yeah.
The full speed pump fake.
Yeah.
That gets you.
So it takes time, and after a while, you start learning the nuances of specific players, and you get a little bit better. So we got to give them that as well.
Right.
Does this mean that Steve Dodge doesn't want disc golf to grow? I hate when I see that, when people start like, oh, he doesn't want, he's holding the sport back. No, he's trying his best for the best way he knows how to grow the sport, and to grow the tour. So
and credit the man. There's probably like, I know Smashbox, they were saying this a little bit last night. There's probably like 70 to 80 people on full-time tour now, like at one point during the year or another, right? Where they don't really have a home base. They're just going out there, right? And a lot of that is because of what Steve has done with the Disc Golf Pro Tour. He made a tour that made sense geographically to go from stop to stop to stop so that these guys could, make more of a living. You know, they each Disc Golf Pro Tour has a minimum of 10,000 added cash, which means that if you go in cash, you're going to, more than likely, you're going to double, triple, quadruple your entry fee. That for those players it's not just, they paid in 200 and they get 800. They paid in 200, but now they get, food for a little while. They get gas to go to their next stop. They get, it's just, I mean, so, big time credit to the guy for coming up with that idea and executing it.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with every decision that Steve Dodge has made. I'm not saying what is going on is perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. But what I don't like is people saying that are bashing his intentions, because I know what his intentions are, and that is to grow the tour, to grow the sport of disc golf, so that players can make money, and so that, guess what, he can make a living. Is that so wrong?
And so that he can continue to do that.
That's one thing I get tired of, is that people think it's a money grab. What is so wrong with making money? I think he's making decisions for the best interest of the tour so that everyone can benefit overall. I'm not saying that he's going to be wanting to be rolling in money, but I would imagine he wants it at least to be an adventure that's sustainable for himself and for his crew. So again, I don't agree with everything that happened or every decision that's being made, but I believe that his intentions are true. So I give them some slack and I give them a little bit of time to learn. Now, I understand with the, of course, there were things about the crew and how long they've been filming disc golf and how long they've had this, and there's all kinds of things. So I'm not saying that every choice he makes is great, but I just don't like the bashing, I guess.
Yeah.
At this point.
Right. Okay. So here's where I'm at on this. I only got to watch a little of the live coverage because we were out there, right? And I totally agree with Bobby here. If you watch some of the other live coverage earlier, you know that it was rough, right? And that it took a lot of time to get to where we are right now. So yeah, the people that are bashing Steve to say, how dare you bring media coverage in house? How dare you do this money grab? I don't think that's what he's trying to do. At least that's the way that it seems to me. Steve is not a bad guy. What he has done for disc golf and helping these touring pros to make a living is awesome. There are more people out on tour now because of the Disc Golf Pro Tour than there were before, because geographically it makes sense. Now, here's where I think people are frustrated. It was announced earlier than I think the Pro Tour really wanted to, that they weren't going to use Smashbox for the live anymore, that they weren't going to use Jomez and Central Coast.
He's admitted to that.
Huh?
I believe he's admitted to that the news got out. They didn't have good control over the news getting out.
Exactly. And then when it was advertised as such, it seemed like there was a promise that this would be as good or better than what we currently had. And it wasn't that. And so people flew off the handle and said, this is the worst. This is worse than it's ever been. Disc golf coverage will never get worse. Steve is such a bad guy. That's not true. I do think that the rollout could have been handled differently. It probably would have been more beneficial if it was, but that's just how it happened, right? One of my biggest complaints was some of the camera guys. Some of the camera guys were great. You can tell that they've covered disc golf at least a little bit, so they knew what they were doing. But there was one particular camera guy who refused to get out of the way when people were throwing.
Yep.
Here's just a quick story. Katrina Allen was waiting to throw on hole 3 at Fountain Hills. Hole 3 has that OB wall between it and hole 2's fairway, and the camera guy was standing on the right side of the OB wall, OB from where Katrina was standing, but in hole 2's fairway, waiting to film the car that was on hole 2. Katrina was throwing right over his head, so she said she was going to wait. Paige Pierce was on hole 2, so she ran over to the cameraman and said, hey, Katrina's trying to throw behind you. If you wouldn't mind just moving out of the way or relocating so that she can throw. And the cameraman more or less said, I'm standing out of bounds. That shouldn't be a problem. I'm not moving. That's not the right way to handle that. At the end of the day, the media coverage is there to film the tournament. The tournament isn't there for the media coverage. The media coverage is there to film the tournament. The tournament takes precedence 100% of the time. The players who are there, who are competing, that's the reason that they're there. The media is there to supplement that. Okay. So bad move in my opinion for that guy. Katrina got frustrated, reasonably so. I would have been too. This is the same camera guy who got hit when Jessica Weiss threw her forehand and it was traveling over out of bounds, looking like it was going to skip back in. And he watched it all the way in and it hit him and stayed out of bounds. If I'm a player, yes, I threw it over out of bounds, but players throw shots out of bounds all the time, knowing that they're going to come back in bounds. That particular camera person was not great. And his attitude was pretty bad about it as well. Otherwise, I would say it seemed like the coverage improved day over day. It seemed like they're getting better. From the little I heard, I thought Nate and Val did a great job. And I think they're going to improve as time goes on. The thing that I asked about the coverage before was who's going to run the show? Like who's going to be the when Terry does Smashbox, he usually has a co-commentator, but Terry runs the show. He brings us back from commercials. He takes us into commercials. He sets up the other person to talk. Both Nate and Val are world champions, but neither of them are play-by-play type people, as of right now. And I think that showed a little bit. That's no fault of theirs. That's just they have insight into the game, but don't have a lot of media experience. Most world champions don't.
Right.
I think they're going to improve on that. I think the coverage is going to get better. For those of you who say it's the worst we've ever had, that is not true. To bash Steve for that is bad, but the way that it happened, yeah, it could have been handled better, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people saying, they put an article. I didn't read that article, and it seems that Johnny V talked about that. I need to see if or I'll just maybe call Johnny V and get his opinion. But it seemed that YouTube did have some issues with, or YouTube was having issues, which caused their issues to be worse than they were. But I don't know the technicalities behind all that. So
Hey, the bed sheet though, come on, that's funny.
That was funny.
Super.
I'd have to say, internet, you guys put out some pretty good memes on that.
Super.
That was pretty
funny.
Good. That was good.
And I think so. Chaser on the board says this. I think the frustrating thing for the fans is lack of ownership. DGPT hasn't owned any of their faults, and they're just festering like open wounds for trolls to feed on. Chaser, I think there's something to that. If they on the first day had said, yes, YouTube had a problem, it made it so that we had to buffer and we didn't have all the coverage we wanted to, but we're learning. We didn't bring our A game, and that we're doing our best. It's going to be better tomorrow. I think that would have been a lot better received than just, YouTube had a problem, so tomorrow it'll be perfect. No, it won't, and it wasn't. So yeah, I agree with that. I do wish they took a little bit more.
Right.
But it's hard. It's a hard spot to be in.
Right. And because I'm a media person. I've been involved with a lot of media, disc golf media. It's hard to not take. The thing is that it was under a microscope to begin with because of the situation. So anything that went wrong was magnified or was picked on or was trolled.
Right.
And so it becomes almost the thing is working in media, and of course I make that choice. Every time I put on a camera on me, go live for Dynamic Disc, I make that choice to be ridiculed. But it does feel like a personal attack because you're attacked. I don't go to your job as
an accountant,
and stand over your shoulder and say you're punching in the numbers wrong. You're putting that spreadsheet wrong.
You could have done that differently.
Yeah, you could have done that differently. That could be done different. I don't do that, but that is done to me on my job because people can get on there and type their comments. And so, yes, we can say ignore comments all day, but that kind of gets you. So I can understand their frustrations on a personal side, feel like a personal attack. I obviously don't agree with the way it was handled as far as explaining, just as Robert explained as well.
Like it was going to be under a microscope no matter what happened. But the way that the media plan was rolled out, or I guess lack of information for the longest time, made it even more under a microscope, right? Yeah. If they were able to, like you said, Steve said, if they were able to hold off on announcing their media plan until, a few weeks before, I think there wouldn't have been so much speculation because for months we knew this was going to be different. And now it's finally here and we're like, all right, let's see how crappy this is. I think a lot of people went into it thinking that. I do think it's going to improve. Overall, I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour is great for disc golf. I will not say that the live coverage was the best I've seen, but right. I think they've got a lot of room to improve, and I think they've got some pieces in place to do it. They just it's all a learning process.
I will say that I did hear that part of their crew will be based off where they're at, so they're going to have people film. In other words, that wherever they're at, they're going to put out a call, say, "Can you help us video?"
Right,
and that will bring its own set of challenges.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
I'm sure there's companies that do that. I mean, there's production companies that will put out saying, "I need a freelance video editor, I need a freelance camera crew," and they'll hire people on the spot. But those are going to be people that will probably, I don't know, it's probably going to sound terrible. Those people cost a lot of money that have a lot of experience.
Right,
that experience costs money. And I would imagine that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is not going to want to pay for the highly, highly experienced cameraman. That's not to say that these other cameramen were bad, but there's some experience to it. Because I remember we went to where did we go? When we were at the Scandinavian Open, I think it was. That's where Dixon went out and he did commentary.
Yeah.
And they paid a crew that had maybe never done disc golf. And I remember at one point I said, because they were asking me advice, and I gave them the same spiel I say here, is that filming disc golf is totally different. It's way different. And I said, you got to watch I gave them a few pointers that I learned. And we kept talking. And at one point, the guy said, very nicely said, we appreciate your input. We will take your feedback, but you are professional. We are professional. We are okay. And I was surprised. They did really well. Mm-hmm. They didn't do perfect, but they did well. And I think that's because, I guess my point is that you got to find people that have a lot of experience, and they seem to have a lot of experience so that it can adapt to the disc golf environment.
I do have one more thing to say about it before we move on, and I know we've probably spent too much time on it already, but I'm sure this is something that a lot of you guys are wondering about. One of the concerns that I had, and I haven't been able to watch any of the posts, but I've seen a lot of people comment on it, is that they don't feel the same like excitement to watch the post-produced stuff as they would for Jomez or Central Coast or something like that. And one of the issues I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour has, they're trying to be efficient by using the same camera feed for live and for post. Yes, that's good in the sense of you've just got a few shots to edit together and then have different commentary over. But part of the problem with that is that different shots look better in post than they do live, right? I think live camera work is different than it is for post. And so
I thought that was an interesting
way
they were doing it.
Right. So in theory, that's a great idea. But if you watch the live, now I don't have any reason to watch the post. If I watch the post, there's no reason to go back and watch the live. Whereas before, at least there was some of a difference to where you could say, oh, I watched the live, but I want to see Jomez's shots. I want to hear Big Sexy talk about these shots, you know?
Gotcha, yeah.
So that is a really interesting choice to me.
So did you watch the live and then watch the same?
I've watched a little of the live and none of the post because we were out there the whole time.
That would be interesting to watch the live and then to watch the actual post-production of that particular round to see what the major see the difference. Because you're right. I mean, watching something before, you'd see Smashbox do it live, and then you'd almost get a whole, like another angle or
that's what I liked about it.
Right. Watching Jomez do it. So that does make sense. So it would be interesting. Now, where I will be upset and mad about the progression of this is if in the next one, or the next one after that, there's no improvement.
Right.
If it's the same, then it's like, because then at least it's like I'm giving you some benefit of the doubt. Learn. If you don't learn from it, then I'll say this is not working. But if they continue to get better and get better and better, then I say keep trucking.
So here's a good question. I want to ask this to you. So Too Keen on the board says, so the live cameramen are not trying to get the good shots. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying videoing for live and videoing for post is just different. So talk about how that is different.
It's just, how do I explain it?
Like you can
when you're filming post-production tournament coverage, you do have a little bit more time to maybe set up your frame your shots and compose your shots. Whereas live, you may not have that same advantage or that same setup time. I don't have.
You don't have the beauty shots.
You don't have the beauty
live,
shots with live. Now the thing is that they did have a third camera guy, and it depends on how much they mixed in the beauty shots that the third camera guy was getting into the live covers that was turned into post.
Here, Danny says this, and I think this is helpful. Live is less artistic. You're just trying to get the content done. Where post-production, you can get more creative.
Right, and that's what I meant by the framing and composing your shots in the post-production. There's just a more, you have more time or more, you don't have like days and whatever, but there is something about live that you're like in the moment, I've got to capture this moment, whereas post-production, you do have a little more time to frame your shot ups and compose your shots. Mm-hmm. And that's what he means by the more artistic types of shot setups. And
for all the people who are saying, man, this live coverage is so bad, we should have Jomez do it. That's not the same thing. Live and post are so different.
Yeah. In fact, I've even, now I'm not speaking for Jomez, but I remember one time I asked him about live. This was years ago. And he said, that's a whole nother monster. I don't even want to mess with.
It's apples and oranges. Yeah. I heard so many people say, we need Jomez. Okay, Jomez for post is good, but live is totally different. It's totally different.
All right.
Anyway, that's it.
That's it.
That is it.
No more.
We're still going to keep it real, but for now, I'm going to click the lamp off.
Okay. All right. The next question comes from Westy. Westy? Hey guys, I know you're all probably too busy, but you should bring back the Inside the Circle part of the podcast and just add Robert in Dixon's place. That was a great addition when it was on before. So I think we discussed this a little bit before. So we had Inside the Circle, which was a little more in depth into tournament play and player analytics and stuff like that. And we started noticing that it took a lot of time. A lot of time that we didn't have to commit because we do this particular podcast because we love answering questions. We love talking about disc golf. We wanted to talk about disc golf more, but then we realized we need to A, make sure we watch the event every round, B, look up statistics and research prior statistics and prior play performance, and 3, have the time to do it. And we just found out that we just did not have a combination of all 3 of those happen every time. And it felt like we were just making up fluff. We were just fluff talking a few times.
Sure.
And so we decided that it just wasn't our thing. Maybe we'll bring it back. But now you've got, the Upshot, you've got PDJ Radio. I think there's one other that does more analytics.
Dixon does
on the box.
Yeah.
That was on the box. So there's plenty of disc golf tournament talk. Now we'll talk a little bit about our impressions, stuff like that, but we're not going to get deep dive analytics and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's something that
now tacos
we
will talk about
take a
tacos
deep dive.
And Waco taco will be our first taco.
Nice. I would love to do a podcast like that. I would love to talk just about tournaments, but like Bobby said, Bobby is busy 24/7 working on media stuff. Danny and Anthony are out here as we're talking right now. They're out here editing videos from the Memorial, and that's what they're doing pretty much the entire time we are live on Disc Golf Answer Man. So we just don't have the time for it right now. We would love to. It's just not on the cards right now. Moving on.
What? This is like the media question one. Connor asks, "What up, Disc Golf Answer Man? I have a question for Bobby. When you make the videos, like, is this disc golf you or maybe the physics of flight, where the person is talking and throwing discs at the same time? What kind of microphone do you use to record that audio? Is it level mic or one that is on the camera? And so you can expand how you get the audio sound as thick as you guys." We used a variety of different methods to record the audio. Most of the time, it is not the onboard camera because there's going to be space between the camera and yourself. So that space is air, and it's just going to capture all that air, and it's not going to sound as good. The sound's going to sound far away. So we use Sennheiser wireless mics that has a little mic right there. Or if they're doing voiceover, sometimes we'll literally use these microphones and just put the voiceover on that.
Sweet.
So yeah, it can be expensive.
Well, Chase from the Great White North has a question.
Chase from the Great White North. Your website says Dynamic Disc has different sponsorship goals and views than most disc golf companies. Instead of sending out a couple of shirts, hats, and discs to as many players as possible who ask to be sponsored, we want players to become part of the family. We like to ensure that our team members are part of something that they truly believe in. Which companies do sponsors?
Sponsor as many players
as players they can. Do not list any fan clubs such as what? What is this question?
He's saying we handle sponsorship in a way where we want to ensure that people are treated like family, so we don't have so many sponsored players that it feels like there's no way you could possibly know all of them, or like, I don't know. I think that's what he's getting at. He's asking which companies do sponsor as many players as they can. Different companies have different sponsorship philosophy.
So he's trying to call us out on it.
No, he's trying to call other companies.
Are you bowing up on me?
No, he's trying to call other companies out and say, if y'all are like this, who's the opposite end of that? I mean, there are companies who have more sponsored players than we do, but I don't know what their philosophy is. Maybe it is get as many players as we can so that we have as much representation. And if that's their prerogative, I mean, if that's what they want to do, that's their prerogative. That's just not what we do. I don't know the exact numbers of how many sponsored players each company has, but
do not list any fan clubs such as Team Trilogy.
That's
What does that have to do with giving out shirts and stuff?
I think he's just saying
he's bowing up on me.
It's definitely not that, but I don't think I have a good answer for that, Chase.
I don't either. I'm sorry, Chase. Send me a message on Facebook and we'll discuss it. And we can blow up on each other. I'm teasing.
Moving on.
Luke asks, why do many players feel more comfortable throwing forehand with a disc that has a flatter top?
I don't know, but it definitely does feel good to me. I prefer forehands with a flat top. And,
why is that?
Let me see here. Man, I don't really know. I've thrown domey ones before. I just think that maybe it fits your hand a little bit better. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. It's just a feel thing. Yeah.
All right. Question 2. What would be a good DD replacement disc for a Wasp? Do you have the answer for that or just a feeling?
It's just a feel thing. No, I think a Verdict is a great substitute for a Wasp. It's not going to feel the same. The Wasp has a bead. The Verdict does not. But as far as the stability goes, I think they're probably pretty close.
All right. Where are we at on time? We've been going for 54 minutes. We got time for a couple more questions.
Keep it rolling.
Next one comes from Easton. Hey guys, I've recently decided that I'm going to sign up for my first tournament coming up in April, the Tallahassee Open.
That sounds awesome.
I'm trying to figure out if I should sign up for intermediate or advanced. Intermediate is played from the short tees that I consistently shoot between 5 down and 10 down for 24 holes. And advanced is playing from the long tees that my best round ever is 1 down and is a much harder
Layout.
Boom. Layout. What should he do?
It's hard to say what you should do without having seen that course because scores may not. I mean, it may be that in the advanced division that 1 down is a good score on that course from the long tees, and if or it may be like, hey, that's going to be bottom of the division. So what I would do is, if you don't currently have a PDGA rate, you said this is your first tournament, so you won't. Find some players who you think are about close to your skill level. Find out what their ratings are, and then see what division they play in. And if all else fails, you can just sign up for one, and then say you sign up for advanced and just get absolutely slaughtered. You learn from it. Maybe you play intermediate next time, or maybe you play intermediate this time and you win by 10 strokes and you're like, oh man, that wasn't good. I should probably play advanced. I don't think there's really a wrong way to do it for the first tournament.
All right. This one comes from, we'll save this one.
Pardon me.
Oh, wait.
Chaser asks, is speak pipe down? Yes, right now it is. We are.
Yeah, because we only have 2 ports.
Yeah,
inputs.
we're getting a new soundboard for next week, but for the time being, we are not able to do speak pipe.
Let's see. Philip says, Philip the Drill de Castro.
The Drill.
I know there are some great courses in Emporia, but I drive from Iowa to Oklahoma City a lot and want to know if El Dorado is worth the stop and what courses in Emporia it would compare to.
El Dorado. I played
potato.
I played that once.
Dorado.
I played that once, I think, when they did the grand opening. What would it compare to? I guess it's probably closest to something like Jones East. It was a really fun course, if I remember correctly. Not a ton of wooded shots. A couple with some trees that shape your lines, but not a whole ton of wooded shots. Pretty open. If the wind is up, it's going to be pretty tough. So yeah, I'd say Jones East is probably the best comparison.
Excellent. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for the questions for the audio podcast. We really appreciate you sending those questions in. Remember, keep sending them to discgolfanswerman.com. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. Fantasy Disc Golf from Disc Golf Pro Tour. So this is something we are participating in, and you can go to dgpt.com/fantasy. And you can try to compete against us. And they do like a survey. You answer questions. And then I answer questions, and then you try to see if you can beat me. Questions like, will Paige Pierce finish in the top 5? Will Sarah Holcomb finish in the top 5? Will Kevin Jones finish in the top 5? Will Ricky finish? Stuff like that. Yeah. So, and I try to say yes or no to these questions. Now, whoever scores better than me, we will select a winner. We send that back to Disc Golf Pro Tour, and then they have a collection of prizes that they will send out. So you can compete against us. And we are competing against other podcasts. And we beat out 2 other podcasts.
How many participated?
5.
Okay. So
we were in the middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack.
So we got...
To be fair, this was you answering these questions, not the podcast.
Okay,
so maybe we would have done better.
There it is.
If somebody who has won a bet but hasn't gotten paid on it... We're able. I'm just kidding.
Yes, I will consult you guys next time. I didn't know. I clicked the link. I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, so On the Box beat us by 7 points, and also Disc Golf Discussions beat us by 7 points. But we beat Ladies of the Chains and PDJ Radio.
Hold on. 0.7 points.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. 0.7. My bad. 0.7 points. So Anyway, I'm going to go through and I will select somebody that did better than us, and I will send it to Seth and let him know so that they can get on there. So if you want to join in, you can still join in and go to Disc Golf Pro Tour or dgpt.com/fantasy. And I believe you get your, let's see. There's links in there so you can do your thing and get your picks in. Now we will end the podcast. For the audio people, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, send in those questions or plug in those questions on the chat, and we will have a little fun on the After Show.
After Show.